Hey everyone, it's Mr. Web194. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for a book from an author that I've never read before. It's about 360 pages long. It's called Small Horrors by Darcy Coates. This is a great cover. I love the cover. Really like, too, how it feels kind of like a self-published book with the cover style, the kind of paper they used, all of that. It's a very thick-spined book, matter of fact, but it's only 360 pages, so it flies by for the most part. Small Horrors. In case you don't know what this is, and in case you're not getting the hint from the title of the book, it is a short story collection. This particular one is supposed to have 50 short stories in it, and again, I've never read Darcy Coates. I would assume that she is a talented author. Not by this book, but by some of the writing in this book, I would assume that she is fairly talented. She probably has better books. I see her name all over the place at Barnes & Noble every time I do manage to wander my ass out there, because Barnes & Noble's so bad nowadays. Why would you go? If you don't like mainstream horror, or like Stephen King or Dean Koontz, which are also mainstream horror / sci-fi, if you're not into just that and you're looking for somebody unique like Jonathan Mayberry, Brian Keene, Richard Lehman, you're not going to find them at Barnes & Noble anymore. You see people like Darcy Coates, and again, I don't know anything about her, I don't know her, but this is my first touch on her work, and going into it knowing that it was a 50 collection, a collection of 50 short stories, is quite a challenge, and I would expect that to be a challenge for anybody from Stephen King to Dean Koontz to somebody I've never heard of like Darcy Coates, who seems experienced, but I don't know of her. You know, Stephen King once upon a time made the observation that I think has become kind of the mainstream thing. A lot of audiences seem to be leaning more towards novels than short stories, which is sad to me, because people like Robert E. Howard get put off to the side, and he was incredible. I'm just finding his stuff, just reading the Solomon Kane collection right now. It's incredible. If you haven't read Robert E. Howard before, he's the creator of Solomon Kane, Conan the Barbarian. You are missing out. The dude is incredible. I wish I had found this guy's work when I was a kid. Anyway, Small Horrors is a collection of 50 short stories, and that would be a challenge for any author. I don't care who they are, because the collections of short stories you see nowadays really aren't that great. Most authors putting out short stories struggle with it because they're used to writing in the academic way of developing writers nowadays, of just having everybody write novels. Novels to me are too filled with fluff nowadays, and I have the biggest issue with that because Stephen King inspired that bullshit, and now most novels are filled with things that they don't need to be a part of. All the fat isn't trimmed out. It's a shame. But I love short stories. The older I get, the more I love and appreciate them when they're really good. And I looked forward to this collection because of the cover, because I read a couple of the stories the day I bought this book like a year and a half ago. And I liked what I saw of it at the beginning. But I gotta tell you, as this progressed, it just eventually hit me that I did not like this book. Almost at all. There might be like 2 stories, maybe 3 in the entire book that I actually enjoyed, thought they had a good twist, had some kind of good perspective to really handle them. Most of them are thriller stories. Every once in a while you get like an alien invasion story, or just like a ghost story every once in a while. Nothing really super impressive. Some of it is very formulaic. Short stories in general are kind of built around a structure that is kind of formulaic. You have the introduction of a character, you have them doing something mysterious, then eventually you have a revelation, and that's pretty much the end after that final twist. That's usually where it ends, and that's where most of these end. They usually don't go past 7 or so pages long. A lot of them are right at 5 pages or 4 pages long. These stories zoom by, but they really don't leave any kind of emphasis. Whereas I can read like a Stephen King short story collection, and I don't think he's great like a lot of people seem to think. His novels are better than his short stories in my personal opinion, but they're also way too big, as I said. But his short stories will be memorable, whether it be Children of the Corn, whether it be The Mist, whatever it be that we're talking about. Typically his stuff is really, really good. The Body being one of his best things he's ever written, even though it's not really a horror story. The guy's incredible at that type of thing. But any author, I don't care who they are, Darcy Coates or otherwise, have a challenge putting a book together that would have 50 good short stories. I wouldn't expect the entire book to be good. I would, however, expect the majority of the book to be good. Not just well written in the sense of critically sitting down, breaking down the sentences, saying, yeah, this is well written objectively. I'm not saying just that. I'm saying like the book's plotting, the stories that we're telling here, are they actually engaging? Are they actually good? Are they something that you want to reread? My answer to that is no. It's pretty much no, consistently, across the board. I really didn't have a good time with almost any of this, aside from a couple of really short stories. And again, them being 5 to 7 pages, that means I enjoyed less than 15 pages long this entire 360-page book. You may wonder, why did you waste your time? I would tell you, I'm a nutcase and a completionist, and I want to finish the books before I review them on my channel. So, here I am whining about a book that I wasted time on. Darcy Coates is not a bad author. Again, Darcy, if you come across this review, I don't mean it like that. You are talented. It's just, I don't think this was your best work. I wish I read something else, like maybe one of your novels or something, before I went to this. This just doesn't work most of the time. And I think, again, it's because of the standard of you have to do 50 stories. You're bound to get repetitive. You're bound to get formulaic. That's gonna happen. I don't have an issue with those. But you're probably not going to have the best stories ever because you probably have to rush through them and do them as fast as possible. I assume with this kind of book being released, that Darcy Coates clearly has a following, some kind of audience or something, where she can just kind of put out things like this every once in a while. You see this in Hollywood, where you'll see people do a big blockbuster and they get in good graces with a studio like Disney or somebody else, and then they're able to make the thing they actually wanted to, like a passion project. You saw this all the time with Kubrick's career, for example. And nothing bad with that at all. It's just that's kind of a thing you see, and I swear to God it's in the literary world as well. I swear that people like E.L. James, Stephenie Meyer were able to get away with things that they were able to do in certain sequels or other books they wrote because of how successful Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey are. Stephen King is another great example. There's so much shit this man can get away with in his books that never should have been allowed to begin with as a published author, but he's able to do it because he's Stephen King, because he makes money. He is a money printer, dude. Darcy Coates, I have a feeling this is a book of hers that got the green light and got published because her name is everywhere. What I worry about is, are the other books actually good? They probably are. She has plenty of experience from all of her name I've seen everywhere and all over these stores like Barnes & Noble and stuff. I've seen her in used bookstores too. The chick has some kind of talent and clearly has a following if she was able to put this out. But Small Horrors, I would not recommend it. I think it's it's not even mixed. It's just bad. It's a bad book, and it's a shame to feel that way, because I did have a couple that I enjoyed, like I said. But I feel like Darcy's novels would be better. I feel like they would have more time to really think about them. The fact that anybody could put out a collection at all that had 50 stories in it is kind of surprising to me. Not even impressive, but kind of just surprising to me that anybody could do that, or even have the gall to do that. It just kind of seems like a train wreck waiting to happen. It's kind of like when you see these big book collections of like H.P. Lovecraft and stuff. People want that because of an old following that have been around for a long time. Most people would not pick that up. Just like most people would probably not pick this up. Again, the cover's fantastic. That's what sold me on this book and the idea of short stories at a time in my life when I'm getting into short stories more and more. I wanted to be impressed. I wanted to root for Darcy. I did sometimes with those couple of tales I liked. But outside of that, no. I wouldn't pick it up. Not for the price they're charging for this. I would not. But anyway, have you read Small Horrors? What's your favorite story in here? I'll be honest with you, where I read this a while back, not a single bit of it is stuck in my head. I have one about a guy and noises in his trunk of his car. It's very early on in the book, probably in the first 10, 15 pages of the book, and that's it. But outside of that, Small Horrors, it sucks. It's a bad book, dude. I'm sorry. I feel bad about that. It's well written objectively. It's just the storytelling that's very dry. Not even meandering, just dry. The stories themselves are dry, so why would the writing not be dry, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, Small Horrors by Darcy Coates. Check her out. I guarantee her other stuff is better than this. I'd be willing to bet money on it, matter of fact. But if I had to rate Small Horrors on a 5-star basis, I'd probably give this like a... I didn't want to be mean going into this review, but I'm going to give it like a 1 out of 5 stars. It's just not good. It just sucks. I'm sorry. It's a bad book. It's a bad book. I feel like a lot of this stuff, you could find better versions of it on like Reddit, on the No Sleep subreddit. You could probably find better versions of most of these tales in here that do get repetitive on that page, on that subreddit, whatever. But anyway, have you read it? What do you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. Again, Darcy, if you happen to be watching this review, I doubt you are. But if you are, I am so sorry. I don't mean to be brutal and mean. You clearly have talent. You clearly have people who love you and read you, more than they read me, obviously. But you clearly have an audience. You clearly have people who care about your work. And if anybody happens to have a recommendation on Darcy's work down in the comments, please put it. I'd love to know. I'd love to know what kind of novels you'd recommend, or what other collections or whatever she might have that are much better than this, because this was this was shit, dude. Like, I feel really bad about saying that, but this feels like the kind of book I would put out. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like she's better than this, I think, personally. That's just me. That's just me saying that. But not to be mean, but to be clear about it. Anyway, Small Horrors. What did you think about the book? What did you think about Darcy Coates? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below about this read. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Sorry for 2 bad book reviews back to back. It's just that kind of day. It's raining outside. My throat is still a little bit weird. It's that kind of day. I'm sorry. I had that kind of day yesterday too, but it's that kind of day today. Anyway, thank you guys again. 1 out of 5 stars. God bless you all. Goodbye.